Welcome to our channel, The Insight Exchange. Today, we're diving into the enchanting world of Whispers of Forever by Sujan Kandel, a captivating novel that explores the depths of love, longing, and the timeless bonds that connect us all. Join us as we embark on a journey filled with heartwarming moments and poignant twists, where every whisper tells a story and every heartbeat echoes with passion. So, grab your headphones, settle in, and let the magic of Whispers of Forever sweep you away. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more incredible audiobooks. Let's begin. This novel is entirely a work of fiction. The named characters and incidents portrayed in it are the work of author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons living or dead events or localities is entirely coincidental. The beginning of everything. It was just another ordinary day at college, and as usual, Samyam found himself seated at his favorite spot in the canteen, casually observing the faces of students around him. That was when he saw her for the first time, a girl whose beauty caught him completely off guard. She had a simple elegance about her that seemed to illuminate the entire canteen. He couldn't explain it, but as their eyes briefly met, something stirred inside him. It was as if time had slowed down, and in that moment, he felt a different connection to her. He couldn't tear his gaze away as she laughed with her friends, her smile lighting up the room. Her beauty was not the kind that dazzled with extravagance, but rather a quiet pleasing that drew him in with its understated grace. Her eyes, a warm and inviting shade of brown, held a hint of mischief that made his heart skip a beat. And her smile, her smile, was like a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day, radiating warmth and joy. He found himself captivated by this stranger, this girl whose name he did not know, but who had already left a lasting impression on him. In that moment, he knew deep down that his life would never be the same again. Love at first sight, a concept he had always dismissed as fanciful, suddenly felt very real as he watched her, unable to look away. Little did he know that this chance encounter in the college canteen would set in motion a series of events that would change his life forever. The boy who was once content with his simple routine was now embarking on a journey of love and self-discovery, all sparked by a single glance at the girl whose beauty had captured his heart in an instant. The library bell clanged, yanking Samyam back to reality. The girl was gone. Ugh, frustrating. It felt silly to be so hung up on a quick look, but he just couldn't shake the feeling this was something more. He had to find her, but where, he had no idea. The college was a maze, packed with unfamiliar faces. His only clue was a fleeting glimpse and that amazing smile. As he wandered the halls, the cafeteria scene replayed in his head over and over. Then a light bulb moment. The library. Maybe she'd be there, lost in a world of words. It was a long shot, but worth a try. The library, quiet with hushed whispers and the comforting smell of old books, was a familiar place. But hunting her down amongst endless shelves wasn't easy. Just as he felt like giving up, he spotted her, seated in a corner, totally focused on a book. She was surrounded by cool books, poems by old-fashioned writers, brainy stuff about life's meaning, and a well-worn copy of Jane Eyre. His heart thumped. She wasn't just beautiful. She had a curious mind, just like him. Taking a deep breath, he walked over. "Hi," he stammered, voice a little shaky. "Couldn't help but notice you're reading some awesome stuff." She looked up, surprised, then offered a small smile. "Hi," she said simply, before turning back to her book. The air hung heavy for a moment. His carefully planned conversation starter lay in ruins. Should he try again? Did he come on too strong? A week dragged by. Every corner felt like it echoed with the memory of her smile, and every rustle of pages sounded like she might appear. Disappointment turned into a strange kind of longing, a hope for something that maybe wasn't even real. So there he was, hunched over a cold cup of tea in the noisy canteen. The usual chaos of chatter and clatter seemed muted, just a background noise to the dull ache of wanting to know her. He was about to dive into an old book when a sound startled him. Across from his table, a book landed with a gentle plop. His heart jumped. It was her, the girl from the library. It felt like seeing sunshine on a cloudy day, but different this time. She had glasses perched on her nose, making her look studious. The book open in front of her was unmistakable, The Fault in Our Stars, a story he loved too. Seeing her sent a shock through him. His cool act crumbled like a sandcastle in the waves. Here she was, for real, not just in his head. But there was something new about her beauty now, a kind of shyness hidden behind the glasses. For a moment, they were frozen. He was mid-sip, fumbling for words, and she was lost in the world of the book. It was weird, like a silent tug of war. Part of him wanted to disappear, and the other part desperately wanted to talk to her. Finally, she broke the silence. She looked up and met his eyes, surprised for a second. Then a gentle smile spread across her face. It wasn't the dazzling smile that got him in the library, but a softer, more personal one. It was like a secret smile between two people who'd crossed paths before without knowing. "Hi," she said, her voice like a calming melody. "Is this seat taken?" The simple question hung in the air, a lifeline thrown across the gap of his awkwardness. It was a test, a chance for him to either back out or take a risk. His hand, sweating nervously, reached out to the empty chair opposite her. "No, not at all," he stammered, barely a whisper. "Please sit down." As she sat down, the worn cover of The Fault in Our Stars catching the dim light, he realized this wasn't just a random meeting. It was an opportunity, a chance to open a door he'd only seen a glimpse of before. The frustration from the library faded away, replaced by nervous excitement. Maybe, just maybe, this time the conversation wouldn't flop. Maybe this time, they could connect over their love for stories, over the sad and happy parts of love and loss. So, he began, feeling a bit braver. The Fault in Our Stars, huh? Good choice. A wider smile stretched across her face. "The best," she replied, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Even though, I admit, I do love a good cry sometimes." And just like that, with a shared love for a heartbreaking story, as they stepped out of the canteen, the setting sun cast an orange glow on their faces. Swept up in the moment, Samyam blurted, "By the way, I'm Samyam Paudel, BBA first year." Razmi smiled. Razmi Dahal, law faculty. It was a beautiful name, he thought, that rolled off the tongue like poetry. He wanted to ask her more, maybe suggest another book discussion, but the words seemed to get stuck in his throat. Well, this was... Razmi trailed off, searching for the right word. "Amazing," Samyam offered, feeling a blush creep up his neck. "Yeah," Razmi agreed, her smile wider now. "See you around, Samyam." "Definitely," he stammered, watching her walk away, her backpack bouncing with each step. Back in his dorm room, the afterglow of their conversation lingered. He searched for her on Instagram and Facebook, his heart sinking with each negative result. Disappointment gnawed at him, but a spark of hope remained. Maybe they just bumped into each other at the perfect time, two strangers drawn together by a shared love of books. He tried to focus on his studies, but Razmi kept stealing his attention. He closed his eyes, picturing her face. Warm brown eyes that sparkled with intelligence, a gentle smile hinting at hidden depths, and hair that cascaded down her shoulders like a dark waterfall. Lost in his daydream, he crafted a fantastical conversation in his head. He'd tell her how her laugh reminded him of wind chimes on a summer evening, and how the way she looked at a book made it seem like she was holding a piece of the universe in her hands. He'd spin tales of their adventures, exploring hidden bookstores and cozy cafes, losing themselves in the written word together. Suddenly, his phone blared, shattering his fantasy. It was his friend, Rohan, calling to drag him out for pizza. Samyam groaned, the harsh reality of the situation hitting him. He was just a college freshman, tangled in daydreams, while Razmi was likely a brilliant law student with a life far beyond the confines of his imagination. Join me tonight for a walk through the city, where the crowd amplifies our sense of isolation. The next few days were a blur. He stole glances around campus, hoping for a glimpse of her, but the vast sea of faces offered no sign of Razmi. He sought solace in the library, spending hours surrounded by towering shelves, but the magic of their first meeting seemed to have vanished. One afternoon, while browsing the classics section, a book titled Pride and Prejudice caught his eye. He remembered Razmi mentioning it as a favorite during their conversation. A flicker of hope ignited within him. Maybe fate was giving him a second chance. He spent the next few days devouring the book, captivated by the witty banter and the slow, burning romance. He kept picturing Razmi as Elizabeth Bennet, her sharp wit and independent spirit a perfect match for his own daydreams. Armed with newfound confidence, Samyam decided to take action. He returned to the canteen, the same spot where they'd first met, clutching his copy of Pride and Prejudice. He sat there for what felt like an eternity, replaying their conversation in his head, preparing himself for a potential rejection. Just as he was about to give up, a familiar figure walked in. It was Razmi, looking as radiant as ever. His heart pounded like a drum solo. She scanned the room, a small frown creasing her forehead, then her eyes landed on him. A surprised smile lit up her face. "Samyam, hey, what are you doing here?" His carefully rehearsed speech evaporated. Hi," he stammered, holding up the book. "I was just rereading this and thought." He trailed off, realizing how lame it sounded. Razmi chuckled, her smile disarming his nervousness. "Thought what?" "I thought maybe you'd like to grab a coffee sometime," he blurted out, surprised by his own boldness. To discuss the book, of course. Disappointment stung Samyam as Razmi tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "Coffee sounds lovely, Samyam," she admitted, "but I actually have a packed afternoon with a study group. Maybe another time?" The carefully crafted daydream in his head sputtered and died. He forced a smile, trying to hide the flicker of rejection that flared in his chest. "Oh, of course," he stammered. "No worries at all. Studies are important." "They are," Razmi agreed, her voice apologetic. "But hey, listen," she leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with a hint of mischief. "How about a challenge? Finish Pride and Prejudice before next week, and if you can impress me with your analysis of Mr. Darcy's character, I'll owe you that coffee." A playful challenge? This was unexpected, but a welcome twist. Samyam's heart skipped a beat. "You're on," he declared, a grin spreading across his face. Consider Mr. Darcy thoroughly analyzed. The weight of rejection lifted, replaced by a spark of determination. As Razmi gathered her things, their conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with easy banter and shared jokes. They walked out of the canteen together, the setting sun casting an orange glow on their faces. "See you next week, Mr. Darcy expert," Razmi teased, her smile lingering. "Don't you doubt it, Miss Elizabeth Bennet," Samyam countered, the literary reference rolling smoothly off his tongue. Back in his room, the disappointment was forgotten. He dived back into Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy's analyzing his actions and searching for hidden depths in the aloof character. If you had listened, I would have spoken. There were other things to say, but the physical gap between us was as wide as the emotional connection we shared. The week flew by in a whirlwind of classes, studying, and late-night reading sessions fueled by copious amounts of coffee. He found every detail about Mr. Darcy, forming his own interpretations and preparing arguments to support his analysis. Finally, the day arrived. Samyam, armed with his carefully crafted notes and a newfound confidence, but disappointment seen at Samyam as he entered the canteen a week later. The familiar buzz of chatter and clatter seemed muted, the air heavy with the silence of her absence. He scanned the room, hoping to catch a glimpse of Razmi's brown hair or the familiar worn copy of Pride and Prejudice tucked under her arm. But there was nothing. He sank into his usual spot, the weight of his carefully crafted Mr. Darcy analysis settling like a lead weight in his stomach. Had he misunderstood her playful challenge? Was this all just a game for her? A way to brush him off politely? He replayed their conversation in his head, searching for any sign of insincerity. But all he found was genuine interest and a shared passion for the book. Maybe she was genuinely busy with her studies. He tried to console himself, but a flicker of doubt remained. He spent the rest of his lunch lost in thought, poking at his food with spoon and fork. Each day after their playful challenge over Pride and Prejudice, the canteen seemed a little less vibrant, a little less noisy. The familiar clatter of forks and the murmur of conversations felt muted to Samyam. He scanned the room meticulously during every lunch break, his heart leaping with every flash of brown hair or glimpse of a worn paperback. But a week passed, and there was no sign of Razmi. Disappointment gnawed at him like a persistent ache. His carefully crafted analysis of Mr. Darcy, with its detailed notes and passionate interpretations, felt like a weight in his bag. Had he misread her playful challenge? Was this all just a game for her, a way to brush him off politely? He replayed their last conversation in his head, searching for any hint of insincerity, but all he found was genuine interest and a shared passion for stories. Still, the doubt lingered, a bitter aftertaste of the sweetness of their encounter. He tried to focus on his studies, on the usual routine of lectures, assignments, and late-night pizza runs with Rowan. But Razmi's bright smile and the warmth of her presence kept intruding on his thoughts. He found himself daydreaming about her laugh, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about books, and the nervous tuck of hair behind her ear. The library, once a comforting refuge, now echoed with the memory of her absence. He wandered among the towering shelves, searching for solace amidst the stories, but even the fictional worlds failed to hold his attention. One particularly gloomy afternoon, Samyam found himself in a hidden corner of the library, a haven for used books sold by weight. He browsed through the dusty volumes, a sense of longing settling over him. His fingers brushed against a worn copy of Jane Eyre, the same book he'd seen in Razmi's hands. He pulled it out, the musty scent of old paper filling his nose. As he flipped through the pages, a small, folded piece of paper slipped out, fluttering to the ground. He unfolded it carefully, his heart pounding in his chest. It was a library receipt with a handwritten message note to the back. To the Mr. Darcy expert, meet me at the campus bookstore on Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. Don't be late. Miss Elizabeth Bennet, with apologies for the delay. A surge of joy shot through him. He hadn't misread her intentions. A smile stretched across his face, as bright as the sun finally breaking through the clouds. The weight in his bag suddenly felt less like a burden and more like a shield he was eager to wield in their upcoming literary battle. Saturday arrived, and Samyam was ready. He showered extra care into his appearance, a nervous energy buzzing through him. He arrived at the bookstore a good 15 minutes early, his eyes scanning the aisles for Razmi. He found her browsing the classic section, her back turned to him. She wore a simple sundress, highlighting her radiant beauty, and her hair cascaded down her shoulders like a dark waterfall, just like he'd pictured it. He cleared his throat, and she turned around, startled. Her eyes widened in recognition, and a smile bloomed on her face, as bright as the one he wore. "Samyam, you're actually here. How could I miss it?" he replied, his voice a little shaky with excitement, especially with such a cryptic invitation. "Apologies," she said. "Study group issues again. But hey, at least Jane Eyre finally reunited you with its rightful owner," she said. They spent the next hour lost in conversation amongst the towering shelves. Samyam launched into his analysis of Mr. Darcy, his voice filled with passion as he dissected the character's complexities. Razmi listened intently, occasionally challenging his interpretations with wit and insightful observations. Their playful banter flowed effortlessly, punctuated by laughter that echoed between the bookshelves. "You have a very interesting take on Mr. Darcy," Razmi admitted when he finished, a hint of admiration in her eyes. "There's definitely more to him than just brooding arrogance. Just like there's more to Miss Elizabeth Bennet than sharp wit and stubborn independence," he countered, returning the compliment. Their conversation drifted from literature to their dreams and aspirations. Samyam learned about Razmi's passion for social justice and her desire to work for legal aid after graduation. He shared his secret love for writing, the stories swirling in his head waiting to be unleashed on the world. As the afternoon wore on, a comfortable silence settled between them, a silent language that spoke volumes about their burgeoning connection. They both felt a sense of belonging, a comfortable companionship they hadn't expected to find. "Thank you, Samyam," Razmi finally said, her voice soft. "Today was lovely," said she. "Me too," he replied, genuine. The afternoon sun cast long shadows as Samyam and Razmi exited the bookstore. The air buzzed with a comfortable silence, a stark contrast to the nervous energy that had filled Samyam earlier. He stole a glance at Razmi, her face flushed with the warmth of conversation and the fading sunlight. "So," Samyam began, his voice a low, "where do you live? I can walk you home if you'd like." Razmi's smile widened. "That's actually really sweet, Samyam. I live just off campus, a 10-minute walk." As they walked, they continued their conversation, seamlessly picking up where they left off. They debated the merits of classic villains. Was Mr. Darcy truly a villain, or simply misunderstood? He, in turn, confessed his love for cheesy action movies, a fact that elicited a playful eye roll from Razmi. They reached a quiet street lined with old design houses, their colorful paint peeling slightly at the edges. Pointing to a house, Razmi said, "This is it. Home sweet home." Samyam felt a disappointment. He wasn't ready for their day to end. "Wow," he said, taking in the sight. "It's beautiful." Razmi chuckled. "It has its charm. Thanks for walking me, Samyam. It was honestly the best way I could have spent a Saturday afternoon." "Me too," he stammered, "especially considering the cryptic invitation and all," said he. Razmi laughed, a sound like wind chimes tinkling in a summer breeze. "Sorry about that. Study group chaos," she explained, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "But hey, at least it brought us here," said she. They stood there for a moment, a comfortable silence settling between them. The unspoken question hung in the air. What now? Samyam took a deep breath, gathering his courage. "So," he began, hoping his voice didn't crack, "how about another literary challenge next week? Maybe I can pick your brain about a book this time." Razmi's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Challenge accepted, Mr. Darcy expert. But only if you promise to return this time with a proper invitation. No cryptic messages on library receipts." Relief washed over Samyam. He wasn't sure what the future held, but this easy banter this shared passion, felt like the beginning of something special. "Consider it done, Miss Elizabeth Bennet," he replied, a confident smile playing on his lips. "See you next week, and this time with coffee and maybe even a slice of pizza, if you're interested," said he. Razmi smiled, and it was the answer he needed. "Sounds like a plan," she said, a playful glint in her eyes. "Until then, happy reading, Samyam." With a final wave, she turned and entered the house, leaving Samyam standing on the sidewalk, a smile plastered on his face and a heart full of hope. He watched for a moment longer, then turned and began his walk back to campus hostel, his steps lighter than they had been in weeks. The day might be ending, but the story, he knew, had just begun. Tired of the fight, lost in the maze, my heart's filled with shadows, endless haze. I must let go, find a new way. Hold me now, while shadows delay. Dreams like whispers, fading from sight. I'll step into morning with all my might.
Chapter 2. A Faded Hope. The week crawled by for Samyam. Every lecture, every assignment, felt like an eternity separating him from his next encounter with Razmi. He reread Pride and Prejudice, the worn pages offering little solace this time. The spark of their conversation, the shared laughter, felt like a distant memory. Friday finally arrived, and with it a nervous excitement that slowly curdled into disappointment as the day wore on. He planned his outfit, practiced his invitation, all for naught. The library was a cacophony of activity, the usual hum of concentration replaced by the frenetic energy of exam week. Yet, Razmi was nowhere to be seen. He scoured the familiar aisles, his heart sinking with each empty table, each unfamiliar face. He checked the online catalog, a sliver of hope clinging to the possibility that she was buried deep in research. But her name wasn't there. Dejection settled in his chest, heavy and cold. Had he misread the whole thing? Was their connection just a fleeting moment, a shared love for literature that wouldn't translate beyond the library walls? He slumped into a corner chair, the coffee forgotten in his hand. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the library windows, mimicking the lengthening shadows of his hope. Hours bled into one another, the library's usual buzz morphing into an irritating symphony of rustling pages and hushed whispers. Each fleeting glimpse of a brown ponytail or a laugh that vaguely resembled hers sent a jolt through him, only to be extinguished by the growing darkness in his heart. Finally, defeated, Samyam gathered his belongings. The walk back to campus was a blur, his steps heavy with disappointment. He reached his dorm room, the cheerful chatter of his roommates a stark contrast to the emptiness within him. He flopped onto his bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Maybe he had been naive. Maybe their connection wasn't meant to be anything more than a chance encounter. A wave of self-doubt washed over him. Was he even good enough for someone like Razmi, with her sharp intellect and infectious laughter? But amidst the dejection, a spark flickered to life. He wouldn't let this one missed connection define him. He thought of the story he yearned to write, the characters swirling in his head. Maybe, just maybe, he could channel this disappointment, this longing, into his writing. He grabbed his laptop, a newfound determination coursing through him. He wouldn't wait for a coffee date or a text message. He would write his story, a story that poured his heart out, a story that, hopefully, someday, would resonate with someone like Razmi. The screen flickered to life, a blank canvas waiting to be filled. Taking a deep breath, Samyam began to type, his fingers tapping out a rhythm of hope and resilience. The missed connection might have dimmed his hope for a date, but it had ignited a fire within him, a fire that promised to illuminate the pages of his story. The pen scratched against the paper, a symphony of scribbles and sighs. He poured his emotions onto the page, the missed date morphing into a bittersweet melody within his story. Each sentence became a bridge, connecting his yearning with the world, with the hope that someday it might reach Razmi, whispering the tale of a connection waiting to bloom. In the world of books, we met, eyes met, a smile bloomed. There was an invitation for coffee. I watched the path you had come, but the chair remained empty. Disappointment filled my heart. Days turned into weeks, each one feeling the same for Samyam. Classes were a blur of lectures and notes, but nothing seemed to stick. His mind kept wandering back to the empty chair in the library, the promise of coffee hanging heavy in the air. A dull ache settled in his chest, a longing for the connection he'd felt with Razmi. One afternoon, Samyam slumped over his desk, staring blankly at his textbooks. A loud knock on the door startled him. "Come in," he mumbled, his voice barely a whisper. The door swung open, revealing Rohan, his best friend, with a mischievous grin plastered on his face. "Hey buddy, what's the long face? Exam week got you down already?" Rohan plopped himself down in the opposite chair, tossing a crumpled piece of paper towards the trash can and missing by a mile. Samyam sighed, running a hand through his already messy hair. "I wish it was just exams, Rohan." "It's nothing,"
said Samyam.
Rohan raised an eyebrow, unconvinced.
"Come on, man.
You know you can't keep things bottled up with me. Girl trouble." Samyam hesitated. He hadn't told anyone about Razmi, afraid it sounded silly. But seeing Rohan's genuine concern, he blurted out the whole story. The chance meeting, the connection they shared, the missed coffee date, and the disappointment that followed. Rohan listened intently, his grin fading as Samyam spoke. When he finished, Rohan leaned back and whistled. "Ouch, that sucks, dude. But hey, maybe something came up for her? Maybe she just got super busy." Samyam shook his head. "I don't want to seem like a creep, texting her again and all. Besides, if she wanted to meet, she would have reached out, right?" said Samyam. "Maybe. But maybe she's nervous too, you know? Like you are. You never know. One thing's for sure, moping around won't help." Rohan's words stung, but they were also true. Samyam knew he needed to move on, even if a tiny flicker of hope for Razmi still burned within him. Rohan's words hung heavy in the air. Samyam knew his friend was right. Moping around wouldn't bring Razmi back or make the ache in his chest disappear. He forced a smile. "Yeah, you're probably right. How about we get some fresh air? Maybe grab some momos," said Samyam. Rohan's face lit up. "Momos, now you're talking. There's this new vendor down by the campus gates. Everyone's been raving about them. Let's go check it out," said Rohan. They stepped out of the dorm room. The warm afternoon sun a welcome change from the stale air inside. The campus bustled with students, their chatter and laughter filling the air. Samyam tried to focus on the sights and sounds around him, pushing thoughts of Razmi to the back of his mind. As they walked, Rohan nudged him playfully. "Hey, that wasn't so bad, was it? A little sunshine and good company can do wonders, you know." Samyam chuckled. "Yeah, maybe you're onto something." "Thanks, Rohan. I needed that." They reached the vendor stall, a colorful cart overflowing with steaming baskets of momos. The aroma of spices and vegetables filled the air, making Samyam's stomach rumble. "Chicken or buff?" Rohan asked, already digging into his wallet. Samyam hesitated for a moment. "Chicken." Rohan placed the order, then turned back to Samyam. "So, tell me more about this mystery girl. What's her name?" Samyam sighed. "Her name's Razmi. We met in the library a few weeks ago, and we hit it off. We were supposed to grab coffee, but she never showed." Rohan listened intently, taking a bite of his momo. "Sounds like a bummer, dude. But hey, there are plenty of fish in the sea, right? You can choose any other," said Rohan. Samyam couldn't help but smile a little. Rohan might be cheesy, but his optimism was contagious. "Yeah, maybe. But this one felt different somehow." Rohan nodded. "Maybe she'll come around. Or maybe someone even better is waiting around the corner. Who knows?" said Rohan. They continued chatting as they devoured their momos, the spicy filling warming them from the inside out. The walk and the conversation did wonders for Samyam's mood. He couldn't erase his disappointment entirely, but a tiny spark of hope flickered back to life. Maybe Rohan was right. Maybe there were other stories waiting to be written, new connections waiting to be formed. And maybe, just maybe, his story with Razmi wasn't over yet. Dust off dreams, a brand new start, friends embrace mends a broken heart. New paths open, choices unfold, love's story yet to be told. The morning crept in slowly, like a shy smile spreading across the face of the sky. The air, cool and crisp, held the damp fragrance of rain, washed earth. Birds chirped a gentle melody. The world seemed to be waking up, stretching and yawning in the soft light of dawn. Following this gentle coaxing of the morning, Samyam found himself drawn towards the familiar buzz of the college canteen. Inside, sounds of clinking cups and chattering students filled the air. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the sweet scent of baking bread, creating a tempting invitation for his senses. Students crowded around tables, their animated discussions punctuated by bursts of laughter. Steaming plates of parad and colorful bowls of dal made their way through the crowd, a silent promise of a delicious breakfast. A lone figure hunched over a newspaper in a corner offered a quiet counterpoint to the vibrant energy. The idea clicked. Samyam, ever the storyteller, felt a spark ignite. He wouldn't let this experience define him. He'd turn it into a captivating tale. He grabbed his notebook, the blank page a canvas for his emotions. Days flew by as Samyam poured his feelings onto the page. The initial frustration with Razmi morphed into a narrative about missed connections and the beauty of unexpected encounters. He crafted a fictional cafe, bustling with students, where two strangers with shared literary passions collide. He infused the story with the same electricity he'd felt with Razmi, leaving the ending open-ended, mirroring his own uncertain feelings. Suddenly, a soft voice startled him. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Samyam looked up, his breath catching in his throat. There, with a hesitant smile, stood Razmi. Time seemed to freeze. Her warm brown eyes held a glimmer of nervousness, mirroring his own. Razmi, he stammered, a jumble of emotions rushing through him. His heart pounded a frantic rhythm against his ribs. A small smile bloomed on her face.
Hi, Samyam.
I know this is awkward, but I wanted to apologize. Something truly unexpected came up that day, and I completely forgot about our coffee. I feel terrible. Samyam's mind raced. Should he be angry? Upset? Here she was, the very reason for his inspiration standing right before him. He took a deep breath, surprised at the calmness that washed over him. "Hey, it happens," he said with a small smile. "No worries. Actually, your something unexpected kind of ended up being the spark for a new story I'm working on," said he. "Really? Can I hear it?" said Razmi. Samyam's heart did a little flip. Here was his chance. He could dismiss her, stick to his initial disappointment. Or he could take a leap of faith, just like the characters in his newly crafted story. A brightness spread across his face. "Maybe, if you can listen it to the end," said he. "He," said Razmi, and he begins with story. The college canteen buzzed with the usual afternoon crowd. Students hunched over laptops, friends chatted between classes, and the yummy smell of coffee filled the air. Samyam and Razmi sat at a table in the corner, both feeling a little nervous. Samyam had just shown Razmi the beginning of his story, unsure how she'd react. He watched her closely as she read, her forehead crinkling in thought sometimes and a small smile playing on her lips at others. When she finished, a comfortable silence hung between them. "Wow," Razmi said, her eyes wide. "This is really cool, Samyam. It's so honest and full of feeling. I could practically feel the connection between the two people." "Thanks," he mumbled, surprised at how much her words meant to him. "It really means a lot that you like it," said he. "I don't just like it," she said softly. "It's awesome. It actually made me realize something. I was so stressed out that day, I totally missed how well we clicked. I'm so sorry," said she. Samyam wanted to reach across the table and hold her hand, but He felt a little shy. "No worries," he said, his voice quieter than he meant. "Stuff happens, you know." Suddenly, Razmi leaned forward, her eyes meeting his. "But some things are worth taking a risk on, wouldn't you say?" said she. His heart jumped. Was she asking him out? A slow smile spread across his face. "Totally," he said, feeling more confident now. "So, how about we try that coffee date again?" he said with a smile. Razmi grinned back. "Totally," she confirmed, her voice bubbly. And this time, no crazy surprises. As they chatted, the cafeteria faded away. They talked about everything and anything, their love of books bringing them closer. The nervous feeling disappeared, replaced by a comfortable ease. By the time the day ended, the cafeteria was mostly empty. Samyam walked Razmi back to her home, their laughter echoing through the quiet streets. They stopped under a giant oak tree, in the warm glow of a lamppost. "So," Razmi began, taking a deep breath, "what happens to the lovebirds in your story?" "Well," he said in a low voice, "that depends on whether they decide to give things a shot." He leaned closer, the space between them shrinking. Razmi closed her eyes, a silent invitation. Samyam met her halfway, and their first kiss was gentle, filled with unspoken possibilities. The ending of their story, just like the story Samyam was writing, was still unwritten. But beneath the shade of the oak tree, with the promise of a new beginning hanging in the air, they knew they were ready to write the next chapter together.
Since you came into my life, everything has become perfect. A new day begins. The morning arrived quietly, like a shy smile spreading across the sky's face. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of rain-washed earth. Birds chirped happily, their songs weaving a melody that banished sleepiness. Streaks of pink and orange peeked over the horizon, painting the clouds in soft hues of cotton candy. It seemed the world was waking up, stretching and yawning in the gentle light of dawn. Feeling drawn by the familiar buzz of the college canteen, Rohan made his way inside. There, a symphony of clinking cups and lively chatter filled the air. The aroma of fresh coffee mixed with the sweet smell of baking bread, tempting his senses. Students gathered around tables, engaged in conversations and occasional laughter. Plates of hot parathas and colorful bowls of dal moved through the crowd, promising a delicious breakfast. In a corner, a solitary figure bent over a newspaper provided a calm contrast to the lively atmosphere. Rohan noticed Samyam, deeply engrossed in writing in his notebook. It was unusual to see Samyam so absorbed in writing this early in the morning. Rohan grabbed a cup of chai and walked over to Samyam's table. Well, Rohan greeted, taking a seat across from Samyam. "Looks like someone woke up on the right side of the bed," said Rohan. Samyam looked up, surprised. He quickly closed his notebook, a defensive look in his eyes. "Oh, hey Rohan, didn't hear you come in. Just working on a new story idea," he responded. Rohan raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. He recognized that look in Samyam's eyes, the spark of inspiration. "A new story, huh?" Rohan said. "Can your best friend read it? Or is it top secret?" "For your eyes only," said Rohan. Samyam blushed slightly. He knew he wouldn't be able to keep his newfound inspiration a secret for long. All right, you win," he said, "but promise not to laugh." "Huh? Why would I laugh?" said Rohan. Samyam cleared his throat and began to read aloud. The morning crept in slowly, like a shy smile spreading across the face of the sky. Rohan leaned back in his chair, captivated by the opening line. He couldn't help but smile at the Samyam's poetic description. Samyam continued, painting a vivid picture of the awakening world. He described the cool air, the earthy fragrance, the gentle melody of bird calls, all metaphors for the emotions in his heart. And then, he continued, his voice softening. There she was, bathed in the soft light of morning. Her hair, like sunlight cascading down, reflecting the colors of the rising sun. Her eyes, deep like pools reflecting the morning sky. held a mix of calmness and playful misbehavior. Rohan's heart skipped a beat. It was clear that Samyam was writing about Razmi. Every gesture, every breath, whispered a melody that resonated deep within him. He felt a connection, a pull as strong as the rising sun, and he knew, with a certainty that warmed him inside, that he had found his sunrise. Silence settled between them as Samyam finished reading. The noise of the canteen faded into the background, replaced by the quiet understanding they shared. Rohan had a genuine smile on his face. "Wow, Samyam, that's beautiful. I never knew you had such a romantic side." Samyam blushed again, his cheeks turning as red as the sunrise he had vividly described. "It just came to me," he mumbled, keeping the notebook away. "Well, keep it coming," Rohan encouraged. "Seems like love is inspiring some great writing from you." Suddenly, a new thought struck Rohan. As Razmi entered the canteen, her presence seemed to light up the room. Her eyes sparkled like deep black gems. The scent of coffee mixed with her jasmine perfume, making Samyam's heart race with every step she took. "Razmi," Samyam called out softly, his voice carrying across the bustling canteen. "Meet Rohan, my best friend." Razmi turned towards Rohan, her smile warm and welcoming. "Hello, Rohan," she said, extending her hand. "Samyam has told me a lot about you." Rohan shook her hand warmly. "Nice to meet you, Razmi. Samyam's mentioned you too." Samyam couldn't help but beam with pride as they introduced Razmi to Rohan. There was a gentle ease in the air, a sense of connection that filled each word spoken between. After a few moments of easy conversation, Rohan excused himself with a smile, saying he had to head to class. As he left, Samyam felt a rush of gratitude for his understanding smile. He knew this was special. Turning back to Razmi, they found them lost in each other's eyes, their laughter blending with the hum of the canteen. In that moment, they felt like the world had slowed down just for them. They spent every spare moment together, sharing laughs over coffee, exploring new places, and simply enjoying each other's company. One sunny afternoon, they found themselves in their favorite spot under a big oak tree, her head on his shoulder as they watched the clouds drift lazily across the sky. "You know," Razmi said softly, her fingers tracing circles on Samyam's hand, "you've changed my life in ways I never expected." Samyam turned to her, said with love, "And you fill my days with so much joy, Razmi. I can't imagine my life without you." She smiled, her eyes sparkling with affection. "Remember that story you wrote? The one with the sunrise?" "Of course. It was inspired by that day," said he. "It was beautiful," Razmi whispered, leaning in closer. "Just like you." They sat in comfortable silence, the rustling leaves above them providing a soothing background to their whispered conversations. Samyam brushed a strand of hair from Razmi's face, reveling in the simple pleasure of being close to her. "You know," Samyam began, his voice low and filled with warmth, "I never thought a missed coffee date would lead me to the love of my life." Razmi laughed softly, her eyes meeting his. "Life has a funny way of bringing people together, doesn't it?" They stayed there until the sun dipped below the horizon, their hands intertwined, two hearts beating at once. As they walked back to their dorms, Samyam couldn't shake the feeling that their love story was just beginning. A story filled with everyday moments, shared dreams, and a love that grew stronger with each passing day. Morning light, soft and sweet, bird song fills the air, so neat. College buzz, a busy place, coffee smells, a sweet embrace. Samyam writes, a story starts, Rohan comes, with eager hearts. A tale of sun, a morning's gleam, a friendship strong, a hopeful dream. Razmi shines, a lovely sight, laughter shared, a pure delight. Underneath the big tree's shade, hearts connected, words well made. Love grows strong, a tender bloom, future bright, chasing gloom. Hand in hand, they softly sigh, as day fades out and stars come high.
The next morning greeted Samyam with the gentle melody of birdsong and the earthy fragrance of rain-washed mud. He woke up with a smile, the anticipation of surprising Razmi with his painting filling his heart with warmth. The painting, carefully wrapped to protect it, sat on his desk like a precious secret waiting to be unveiled. Samyam had poured his heart into every brushstroke, ensuring that it captured not just Razmi's physical likeness, but also the essence of her spirit that had captivated him from the moment they met. As he got ready for the day, his mind wandered back to the night before. Sitting in the quiet of his room, in the soft glow of his desk lamp, he had painted with a sense of love. Each stroke had been a declaration of his love, each color chosen to reflect the depth of his feelings for Razmi. "I hope she likes it," Samyam murmured to himself, a nervous excitement bubbling within him. He knew Razmi appreciated art, but this was more than just a painting. It was a piece of his heart, offered to her as a token of his affection. With a quick shower and some drops of his perfume, Samyam felt ready to face the day. He carefully picked up the painting, cradling it in his arms like a precious treasure, and made his way to their favorite spot under the oak tree. Razmi was already there, her eyes lighting up as she spotted Samyam approaching. Her smile widened as he drew nearer, and Samyam's heart skipped a beat at the sight of her. "Hey," Razmi greeted, her voice soft and filled with warmth. "You look happy today. What's going on?" Samyam's cheeks flushed with a mixture of nervousness and excitement. He gave a sweet smile. "I have something for you," he said, holding out the carefully wrapped painting. Curiosity flickered in Razmi's eyes as she took the painting from him. She carefully unwrapped it, her breath catching in her throat as the image of herself painted by Samyam was revealed. "Oh, Samyam," Razmi whispered, her voice filled with excitement. She traced a finger lightly over the canvas, marveling at the way Samyam had captured her features with such detail. "This is incredible. You painted me,"
said she.
I wanted to capture how you make me feel," he confessed softly. You're the most beautiful part of my life, Razmi,"
said he.
Tears shimmered in Razmi's eyes as she looked up at him, her heart swelling with love. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice thick with emotion. "This means everything to me." They sat in silence for a moment, the painting cradled gently between them. In that quiet exchange of glances, they both knew that this gesture had deepened the bond between them, reinforcing the love and affection they felt for each other. "I'm so lucky to have you in my life, Samyam," Razmi finally said, breaking the silence. She leaned in and pressed a soft kiss against his cheek, her touch sending a shiver of warmth through him. He wrapped an arm around Razmi, pulling her close. "I'm the lucky one," he whispered, his voice barely above a murmur. "Being with you, it feels like everything's falling into place." They stayed under the oak tree for hours, lost in conversation and the simple joy of being together. They talked about their families, their dreams for the future, and the classes they were passionate about. Samyam listened intently as Razmi shared stories from her childhood, her laughter mingling with the rustling leaves above them. As the day wore on, they walked hand in hand around campus, exploring familiar paths and discovering hidden corners they had never noticed before. Samyam couldn't stop smiling, his heart lighter than it had been in weeks. "You know," Razmi said suddenly, her voice thoughtful, "I've been thinking about your writing. You never did finish telling me that story you started." Samyam chuckled softly, his gaze meeting hers with affection. "I actually did," he admitted. "I wrote about us." Razmi's eyes widened in surprise. "You did?" Samyam nodded, his smile widening.
"Yeah."
"It's about a guy who meets a girl in a library, and they have this instant connection over books and coffee. But then life gets in the way, and they miss their first chance at a date. But instead of giving up, he channels his feelings into a story, hoping that someday she'll read it and understand just how much she means to him." Razmi's heart filled with emotion as she listened to Samyam's words. "That's beautiful," she said softly, her voice filled with tenderness. "I'd love to read it someday." Samyam grinned, feeling a rush of pride at her reaction. "Maybe I'll show it to you sometime," he teased, his tone playful. They found themselves back at the college canteen, their favorite spot for coffee and conversations. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and chocolate donuts filled the air, mingling with the sound of students chatting around them. As they settled into a cozy corner table, Samyam couldn't help but admire Razmi's beauty. Her hair cascaded in waves around her shoulders, catching the light with every movement. Her eyes sparkled with intelligence and kindness, and her smile was something that brightened his day. "You know," Razmi said, breaking the comfortable silence between them, "I've always admired your passion for writing. It's like you have this way of weaving words together that brings stories to life." Samyam blushed, grateful for her praise. "Thank you," he said sincerely, his eyes meeting hers with affection. "Writing has always been my way of making sense of the world, of expressing things I can't always say out loud." Razmi nodded thoughtfully. "I'd love to read more of your stories," she admitted, her voice soft. "Maybe you could write something for me?" Samyam's heart skipped a beat at her request. "I already have," he confessed, his voice filled with excitement. "Last night, as I painted your portrait, I couldn't help but pour my feelings into words." Razmi's eyes widened in surprise and delight. "You wrote something for me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Samyam nodded, reaching into his bag and pulling out a small notebook. He flipped to a page filled with handwritten words, his heart racing as he handed it to her. "It's not much," he said modestly, "but it's my way of trying to capture how much you mean to me." Razmi took the notebook, her eyes scanning the words Samyam had written with care and devotion. Her breath caught in her throat as she read, each sentence resonating with the depth of Samyam's feelings for her. "Oh, Samyam," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever written for me." Samyam felt a swell of pride and relief as he watched Razmi read his words. In that moment, he knew that he had expressed his love in a way that words alone could not convey. "You inspire me, Razmi," Samyam admitted, his voice filled with sincerity. "Every day, you inspire me to be a better person, to chase my dreams, and to love deeply." Razmi closed the notebook gently, her eyes brimming with tears of joy. She reached across the table and took Samyam's hands in hers, her touch grounding him in the reality of their love. "I love you, Samyam," Razmi said softly, her voice carrying the weight of her emotions. "I love you more than words can say." Samyam's heart swelled with love and gratitude. "And I love you, Razmi," he whispered, "more than anything." They sat together in the warmth of their love, capturing the moment and the promise of a future filled with shared dreams and endless possibilities.
Darling, let's lose ourselves in a night of dreams. Order a double dose of sleep for my tired eyes. First, let's sip on 2 cups of that mysterious dark coffee, with the soft glow of candles. And let's get lost in the words of my favorite poems.
Chapter 3. Love Blooms Bright. As the days melted into months, Samyam and Razmi found themselves drawn closer with each passing moment. They cherished their after-college meetings in the bustling canteen, where they often lingered over cups of coffee, deep in conversation about life, dreams, and the adventures they hoped to share. One bright afternoon, with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee lingering in the air, Samyam and Razmi found themselves once again at their favorite corner table in the college canteen. The usual chatter of students surrounded them. "I've always wanted to explore more of Nepal," Razmi said, her eyes alight with excitement as she pointed to a picture of snow-capped mountains. "And Kalanchuk looks absolutely breathtaking." Samyam leaned in. "It does," he agreed, tracing a finger along the winding trails marked on the map. "Imagine the views from up there, especially at sunrise." Razmi nodded eagerly. "It's like a dream come true," she replied, her voice filled with anticipation. "Just you and me, surrounded by nature's beauty." They went deeper into planning, discussing logistics and jotting down ideas about what to see and do. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, each idea sparking excitement and adding to their shared vision of the trip. "We could start with a hike to the viewpoint," Samyam suggested, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. "Then maybe explore the local villages and try some authentic things," said he. Razmi's smile widened. That sounds perfect, she agreed, her mind already wandering to the adventures awaiting them. As they continued to plan, their excitement grew. They talked about the cozy goose houses nestled in the mountainside, imagining evenings spent by a crackling fire, sharing stories. We should book our accommodations soon, Samyam said thoughtfully, making a mental note. And figure out how we'll get there. Razmi nodded in agreement. I can look into the bus schedules from Kathmandu to Cheriko, she offered, eager to contribute to their plans. With each detail sorted out, they looked at each other with shared satisfaction. The dream of visiting Kalanchowk was no longer just a conversation. It was a tangible goal, a journey they were about to embark on together. 1 week, Samyam said softly, his eyes meeting Razmi's with a mixture of excitement and anticipation. We leave next Friday. Razmi's heart skipped a beat at the realization that their adventure was just around the corner. 1 week, she echoed with a smile. I can't wait to explore with you. They spent the rest of the afternoon soaking in the thrill of their upcoming trip, and knowing that their next meeting would be filled with excitement as they counted down the days. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the college campus, Samyam and Razmi walked out of the canteen hand in hand. Their hearts were light, filled with the promise of new experiences and shared moments ahead. Shall we celebrate with some panipuris? Samyam suggested, a playful twinkle in his eyes. Razmi laughed, the sound like music to Samyam's ears. Absolutely, she replied, her voice tinged with happiness. Let's make today even more memorable. They headed to their favorite panipuri stall near the oak tree, where the savory treats awaited them. As they take each bite, their laughter mingled with the chatter of fellow diners and the comforting bustle of the street. This is perfect, Razmi said between bites, her eyes shining. Samyam nodded, his heart overflowing with joy. It is, he agreed, reaching across the table to take Razmi's hand in his. And it's only the beginning.
Let's pretend to be a rushing river and a waterfall merging together. Let's try to hear the silence. Let's ask the dark clouds why they are so sad. Let's pretend you came without me knowing, then left without looking back. Let's pretend we loved, dreamed, and lost again. Let's pretend this isn't a dream, not a lie. Let's pretend to love, even for a moment.
The sunlight filtered through the leaves of their favorite oak tree, casting playful shadows on the park bench where Razmi and Samyam sat. It was a familiar routine, their days beginning with a sweet good morning text and culminating in this blissful evening under the watchful gaze of the old tree. Today, however, held a special significance. Razmi, her heart fluttering with a nervous excitement, had brought a gift for Samyam, a watch with a timeless self-made design. Samyam, ever the romantic, had come prepared as well. He shyly pulled out a folded piece of paper, his cheeks faint pink. I wrote you something, he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. Razmi's smile widened as she unfolded the paper. It was a poem, heartfelt words expressing his love and admiration for her. Each line resonated with their shared moments, their dreams, and the unspoken promises that bloomed between them. As she finished reading, her eyes welled up, a lump forming in her throat. It's beautiful, Samyam, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you. They spent the rest of the afternoon lost in conversation, their laughter echoing through the park. Suddenly, a furry brown puppy at their feet. A small, scruffy dog with pleading eyes and a wagging tail looked up at them, its wet nose twitching hopefully. Razmi's heart melted. A dog lover. She couldn't resist. She reached into her bag and pulled out a half-eaten cookie, breaking it into pieces and offering them to the dog, its tail wagging furiously. Isn't he adorable? Razmi said, gently scratching the dog behind its ears. He definitely seems to like you, said he. They spent the next few minutes playing with the dog, watching it chase after butterflies in the tall grass. The dog's presence added a touch to their already perfect afternoon. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, it was time for them to go home. Razmi, with a pretty look at Samyam, walked home, the warmth of their shared moments radiating within her. Back in his room, the familiar routine kicked in. He opened his phone, the notification light blinking incessantly. It was Razmi, a message waiting on their usual Instagram chat window. A smile bloomed on her face as he opened it. Samyam, hey beautiful, how was your walk home? Razmi, it was lovely, especially with our new furry friend tagging along for a while. Do you think he has a home? Samyam, I'm not sure. Maybe someone's looking for him. He seemed well-fed though. Razmi, maybe. He was such a sweetheart. The conversation flowed effortlessly, with emojis and silly jokes. They talked about everything and anything, their days at college, their dreams for the future, even about the dog they had encountered. Samyam, I miss you already, Razmi. Razmi, me too, Samyam. But at least we get to continue our conversation virtually. Samyam, true. Though nothing beats seeing your smile in real life. Razmi, I know. Maybe tomorrow? Same place, same time? Samyam, wouldn't miss it for the world. As the night deepened, their conversation shifted to a more intimate level. They shared their hopes and aspirations, fears and vulnerabilities. They talked about their families, their dreams of traveling the world together, and the life they imagined building together. Samyam, Razmi, you're the most incredible person I know. You make me laugh, you inspire me, and you make me want to be a better person. Razmi, you say the sweetest things, Samyam. You make me feel happy and safe, like I can conquer anything with you by my side. The night wore on, the digital world bridging the physical distance between them. They reluctantly said their goodnight, promising to pick up their conversation the next day.
The window is wide open. Little lights of fireflies fly around. They carry your breath with them. I wish they would stay.
The Friday morning air crackled with anticipation as Samyam and Razmi boarded the bus bound for Kalanchak. For weeks, they had dreamt of escaping the bustling Kathmandu and immersing themselves in the serenity of this Nepali haven. As the bus rumbled out of the city, the concrete jungle slowly morphed into a tapestry of valleys and waterfalls. Sunlight danced on the meandering Trishulai River. Look at that, Razmi, Samyam said, his voice barely a whisper. He pointed towards a majestic waterfall cascading down a cliff face, her eyes sparkling with delight, leaned closer, the warmth of her touch sending a familiar thrill through him. It's like a scene straight out of a painting, she breathed, mirroring his sentiment. Their journey unfolded like a breathtaking scroll. Lush green hills punctuated by quaint villages, terraced fields painted in vibrant shades of green, and snow-capped peaks that pierced the azure canvas above, each scene more stunning than the last. As they ascended, the air grew cooler, carrying the sweet fragrance of pine and rhododendrons. The air here feels different, Razmi remarked, her hair whipping in the cool breeze filtering through the open window. Calming, almost magical. Samyam smiled. Just like you, he murmured. A blush crept onto Razmi's cheeks, and she playfully nudged him with her elbow. After hours of breathtaking scenery, the bus finally reached Curry Bazaar, the gateway to Kalanchak. Here, they switched to a cable car, a thrilling ascent that offered a panoramic view of the surrounding mountains. The green valleys spread out below like a wrinkled green carpet, with small villages that looked like groups of white pebbles. When they reached the top, they saw an amazing view. The tall peak stood against the blue sky, its snowy slopes reflecting the beauty of Razmi's smile. The wind carried the faint clanging of temple bells, a melody that resonated with the peace that had settled in Samyam's heart. This place is beyond words, Samyam finally managed, his voice thick with emotion. Razmi nodded. It's like stepping into another world, she whispered, her hand brushing his. The air crackled with a silent understanding, a shared appreciation for the beauty that surrounded them. They spent the day exploring the temple, offering prayers at the sacred Kalanchak Bhagavati temple. The colorful prayer flags danced in the wind, matching Samyam's swirling feelings inside. Afterwards, they explored small shops selling souvenirs. The bright colors and detailed designs showed the beauty of Nepali culture. As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, they found a secluded spot overlooking the valley. The world stretched before them, a tapestry of rolling hills and distant peaks bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. "This is perfect," Samyam said, his gaze lingering on Razmi's face. "Just you and me, here in this breathtaking place." Razmi's eyes mirrored the beauty of the sunset. "It is, isn't it?" She turned to face him, her hand finding his. The touch sent a jolt through him, a spark that had been growing brighter with every passing moment. "Razmi," Samyam began, his voice a husky whisper. "This place, it reminds me of you." "How so?" said she. He smiled and said, "Just like Kalanchak's beauty is breathtaking, captivating, and leaves you speechless, you have the same effect on me. Your smile is as warm as the sun that bathes these mountains. Your eyes are as clear and pure as the mountain air, and your presence brings a sense of peace that rivals the serenity of this place." Razmi's cheeks flushed a beautiful crimson, a smile gracing her lips. She squeezed his hand, her voice barely above a whisper, "Samyam." The world around them seemed to fade away as they leaned in. In that moment, under the watchful gaze of the snow-capped peaks, their love found a new depth, forever intertwined with the breathtaking beauty of Kalanchak. A comfortable silence settled between them, a comfortable silence that spoke volumes. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the valley, painting the snow-capped peaks with a glow. "We should probably find a place to stay," Samyam finally said, his voice tinged with a hint of regret at breaking the idyllic moment. Razmi nodded, a shy smile playing on her lips. Together, they descended from their secluded haven, following a winding path lined with colorful prayer flags. The air grew a little cooler as they walked, and the fragrance of pine intensified, filling their lungs with a sense of freshness. They reached a cluster of ghost houses. Choosing a cozy one with traditional wooden architecture and a balcony overlooking the valley, they settled in for the night. The room was simple yet charming, with warm woolen blankets on the bed and a small window offering a glimpse of the star-studded sky. As the evening grew darker, they decided to go out once more, attracted by the idea of comfort and special local foods. They found a small restaurant with the smell of spices coming from the kitchen. They entered and met the owner, a kind woman with a friendly smile and eyes that sparkled. Over steaming mugs of yak butter tea and a delicious Nepali thali, a platter of rice, lentils, curries, and seasonal vegetables, they recounted stories from their childhood, their dreams, and their hopes for the future. The conversation flowed effortlessly, with laughter and stolen glances. As the night deepened, they stepped out onto the balcony, the cool breeze carrying the distant sound of temple bells. The sky was a breathtaking tapestry of stars, a million tiny diamonds scattered across the darkness. Samyam pointed out constellations, weaving stories of mythical heroes and celestial lovers. "It's like another world up here," Razmi murmured, looking up at the star-studded spectacle. "So peaceful, so far removed from the daily hustle and bustle,"
said she.
Samyam wrapped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her closer. "It's the perfect escape," he agreed. His voice was low. He felt a sense of contentment he hadn't experienced in a long time, a feeling that stemmed from being here with Razmi, surrounded by this breathtaking beauty. The next morning, they woke up to the sound of chirping birds and the soft glow of sunlight filtering through the window. After a breakfast of fresh local food and butter tea, they went on a trek to the famous Kalanchak Bhagavati temple at top of cliff overlooking the valley. The path wound through thick rhododendron forests, sunlight filtering through the leaves in patches of light and shadow. Insects buzzed around, and birds sang sweetly. They met local pilgrims along the way, focused and chanting prayers as they walked. Arriving at the temple, they were welcomed by a mix of sounds, bells ringing, people chanting, and drums beating rhythmically. The air was heavy with the smell of incense, and prayer flags in bright colors fluttered in the breeze. Inside the temple, they felt peaceful. Flowers and fruits adorned the altar, and people prayed quietly, sharing their hopes. Samyam and Razmi joined them, silently praying for happiness and love. After exploring the temple, they followed a narrow path to a hidden waterfall. The water crashed down, creating a mist that surrounded the trees. Sunlight peeked through, forming a rainbow in the spray. They spent the day exploring meadows full of flowers and butterflies. They lay on the grass, holding hands and watching an eagle soar above. As the day went on, they grew closer. They shared stories and dreams they'd never told anyone else. The beautiful scenery mirrored their deepening feelings. As dusk fell, they returned to their guest house. The air was cooler, smelling of pine and smoke. A bonfire crackled in the courtyard, and musicians played traditional songs. They joined other travelers by the fire, listening to stories and laughing. They felt connected to the group and enjoyed the lively atmosphere. Later, they found a quiet spot under the stars. They talked about their hopes and fears, feeling closer with every word. The peaceful night made their bond even stronger. Back at the bonfire, they held hands again, surrounded by music and laughter. They felt grateful for the day and the new connection they had found. As they said goodnight to the other travelers and returned to their room, they knew they had found more than just beautiful sights that day. They had found each other, and they looked forward to the journey ahead, hand in hand.
I remember you, or have I forgotten? The colors are the same. Even tonight's street lights burn with the same glow. My heart remains the same, searching for the difference between having you and not. It doesn't hurt as much as before. Without restlessness, it feels like nothing's changed. The weather is still the same, cold, with the bustling of people coming and going. The alleys remain calm. But what are the voices? Everything seems the same. Still, empty, unchanging. If you were here, what of it? If you were not, what then? Should I love you or not? The same eyes, unclear emotions.
The next morning, the bus rumbled back towards Kathmandu, leaving behind the serene mountains of Kalanchak. Sunlight streamed through the windows, making patterns on Samyam and Razmi as they chatted excitedly. They talked about every detail of their trip. Remember the waterfalls? Samyam asked. They were so beautiful. Razmi nodded enthusiastically. And the prayer flags. They fluttered in the wind like they were dancing,
said she.
And that yak butter tea, Samyam said, smiling. It was something different test. Each memory made them smile and feel a shared sense of wonder. They talked about their adventures, laughing and enjoying each other's company. As the bus was neared Kathmandu, the scenery changed. Lush greenery gave way to crowded streets and towering buildings. The peaceful sound of nature was replaced by the honking of horns and the constant buzz of city life. When they reached their usual stop, they got off the bus, and a comfortable silence settled between them. They were tired and even more hungry. That situation was reminding them of the delicious meals they enjoyed in Kalanchak. Razmi suggested to have something before getting home. Our favorite place? Samyam asked with a hopeful smile. Razmi's eyes lit up. Momo time. They walked hand in hand towards their favorite restaurant, a small haven known for its steaming momos and friendly service. Inside, the familiar aroma of spices greeted them warmly. They settled into their usual table. The momos arrived, piping hot and perfectly seasoned. As they were eating them, they continued their conversation about different things. By the time they finished their meal, exhaustion from their journey had set in. Saying goodbye at the restaurant door felt bittersweet. Razmi headed towards her house, while Samyam took a bus to his hostel dorm room. Their phones buzzed with messages almost as soon as they parted ways. They texted back and forth for hours, reliving their trip through words and photos. As the night deepened, they decided to meet again the next day, a familiar excitement bubbling within them. Same place under the oak tree? Samyam texted. Wouldn't miss it for the world. came Razmi's instant reply. The next day, college seemed to drag on forever for both of them. Every stolen glance towards the clock felt like an eternity. Finally, the last bell rang, signaling the end of the day. Samyam practically sprinted towards the familiar oak tree, their usual meeting spot. He arrived breathless, a nervous smile playing on his lips. Just as he began to worry if she'd changed her mind, he spotted a flash of color moving through the crowd. Razmi appeared, her smile as bright as the sun glinting off her hair. "Hi," Samyam called out, waving. "Hi," Razmi replied, running up to him. They embraced warmly, their shared memories of Kalanchok drawing them even closer. They settled beneath the shade of the oak tree, the leaves whispering secrets in the air. Hours melted away as they talked. They discussed their plans for the future. They shared silly stories too, their laughter echoing through the park. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows on the ground, they knew it was time to part ways. But this time, the goodbyes felt different. As Samyam walked Razmi home, their hands brushed, sending a jolt of electricity through them. At her doorstep, he hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say. "Thanks for today," Samyam said softly. "I had a great time." Razmi smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Me too. I always enjoy our time together." There was a brief silence as they looked at each other. The unspoken question hung heavy in the air. "Same time tomorrow?" Razmi finally asked. Samyam's heart soared. "Wouldn't dream of missing it," he replied, his voice filled with newfound confidence. They shared a quick look, a silent promise hanging between them. As Razmi disappeared behind her door, Samyam couldn't help but smile. The next day, the routine of college seemed even slower than before. Both Samyam and Razmi found it hard to concentrate, their minds drifting to their next meeting. They eagerly anticipated the moment they could sit under the oak tree again. When the final bell rang, they hurried towards their meeting spot. The familiar oak tree stood tall and welcoming. Samyam arrived first, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Soon, Razmi appeared, her smile as bright as ever. They greeted each other with warm hugs and settled beneath the tree. The conversation flowed easily as always. They talked about their different moments they have had in their life. "Do you remember the view from the top of Kalanchok?" Razmi asked. "It was like looking at a painting." "Yes," Samyam agreed. "It was breathtaking. I felt like I could stay there forever." They laughed and joked, their time together feeling magical. As the sun set once again, they knew their bond was growing stronger. When it was time to say goodbye, Samyam walked Razmi home once more. At her doorstep, they shared a lingering look. "I'll see you tomorrow?" Samyam asked. Razmi nodded, her smile full of promise. "Definitely." As Samyam walked away, he felt a deep sense of happiness. Their time together, their conversations and laughter, made him look forward to every new day. Their connection grew with each passing day. They continued to meet under the oak tree, sharing stories, dreams, and laughter. Each day felt like a new adventure, and Samyam and Razmi knew they were building something beautiful together. Their journey was just beginning, and they were excited to see where it would take them. You, once the heart of every verse, now absent, leaving words dispersed. A silent void where thoughts reside, as ink once flowing, slowly dried.
Chapter 4. A Year of Whispers. A year. 365 days of shared laughter, silent understandings, and a love that bloomed with each passing moment. For Samyam and Razmi, it was a journey marked by shared dreams, whispered secrets, and a bond that grew stronger with every passing day. The morning of their anniversary broke with a gentle, golden glow spreading across the city. Samyam woke up with a heart full of anticipation, his mind racing with plans for the day, a day he had eagerly awaited. He dressed carefully, choosing the best that he had, running a hand through his hair, wanting to look his best for her. Last night, They had agreed to meet under their favorite oak tree in the park, the place where they had shared countless moments of laughter and deep conversations. Samyam, a small bouquet of wildflowers and roses that she adored. Walking through the quiet morning streets, the city slowly waking up around him, Samyam couldn't help but smile as he thought about Razmi. Her laughter, her kindness, and the way they made every moment together. The park was to fill with the fragrance of blooming parijat as he reached their oak tree. And as he waited, the world around him seemed to slow down, giving him a moment to reflect on how much Razmi meant to him. Underneath the oak tree's protective branches, surrounded by the symphony of nature, Samyam felt a sense of gratitude for their love story, a story that continued to unfold with each passing days. When Razmi as Razmi approached Samyam under the oak tree, her presence was like a vision in the morning light. Her face, fair as new baby, glowed softly with a hint of blush from the cool morning air. Her brown eyes, deep and soulful, met his with unspoken volumes of love and anticipation. She wore a striking black dress that had perfect fitting on her. Against her fair skin, the dark color stood out beautifully. "Happy anniversary, Razmi," he said softly, rising to greet her. With a nervous smile, he held out the bouquet of wildflowers and roses he had picked just for her. Razmi's face lit up with delight as she took the flowers. "Oh, Samyam, they're beautiful. Thank you," she said, her voice carrying the warmth of their shared memories. "You look stunning," Samyam murmured, his gaze lingering on her, taking in every detail. The way her hair caught the morning light, the sparkle in her eyes. They settled together, the scent of fresh parijat mingling with the earthy fragrance of the park. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, like a dance they knew by heart. They talked about their first meeting under this very tree, about the dreams they had shared and the challenges they had overcome together. With each word, their bond deepened, a conversation of the love that had grown between them over the year. After having a long conversation, they moved to their favorite place cafe. As they sipped their coffee, Samyam reached across the table and took her hand. "A year ago today, I didn't know my life would change so beautifully," he confessed, his voice filled with emotion. Razmi squeezed his hand, her eyes on his. "And I wouldn't have it any other way. You filled my world with colors I never knew existed." Their plans for the day were simple yet perfect. They had good conversation on different things. They had been talking about going to Pokhara from last 2 weeks as per their plan. They decided to escape the bustling city and head to Pokhara, a place they had always dreamt of visiting. The drive was a journey in itself. The winding roads offered breathtaking views of terraced hills, beautiful green valleys, and snow-capped mountains. As they reached Pokhara, the city unfolded before them like a painter's canvas. The shimmering Fua Lake, surrounded by majestic mountains, was a sight to behold. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the sweet scent of pine. Samyam and Razmi found a cozy guest house with a balcony overlooking the lake. That evening, as the sun began its descent, they sat on their balcony, hand in hand. The water mirrored the sky, creating a breathtaking spectacle. Razmi turned to Samyam, her eyes filled with wonder. "It's like a dream," she whispered. Samyam smiled, his gaze fixed on her. "A dream come true," he replied, his voice barely audible. "And you, my love, are the most beautiful part of it." Razmi blushed, her eyes sparkling with affection. "You're being too sweet," she said, smile on her face. "Jam gumna," said Samyam. A cute smile on her face, she replied, "Auxi lagao ho yaha." "Never look how beautiful it looks, let's go out," said Samyam. They spent the evening exploring the lakeside area, having delicious local cuisine and shopping. As they walked hand in hand, the gentle rhythm of their steps seemed to echo the harmony of their relationship. Back at their guest house, Samyam presented Razmi with a beautifully wrapped gift. Her eyes widened with anticipation as she unwrapped it to reveal a delicate silver necklace with a heart-shaped pendant. "It's beautiful, Samyam," she breathed, her voice filled with gratitude. Samyam smiled, not saying any words. As she put on the necklace, Samyam took out a handwritten letter from his pocket, a letter where he had spent countless hours crafting the perfect words, pouring his heart and soul into every line. "I wrote this for you," he said, his voice trembling slightly. Razmi's eyes widened as she took the letter. She opened it carefully. The letter was a love poem, a testament to their journey together. Samyam had poured his heart out, describing their love as a gentle breeze, a silent whisper, a melody that played in the depths of their souls. He wrote about their shared dreams, their unwavering support for each other, and the promise of forever that had blossomed between them. As Razmi read the letter, tears of joy streamed down her face. She looked up at Samyam, her eyes filled with love. "This is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever written for me," she whispered. Samyam took her hand, his heart overflowing with happiness. "You are the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to me," he replied. The night ended with a quiet dinner, followed by a long conversation under the sky. As they fell asleep, wrapped in each other's arms, they felt a sense of peace and contentment that was rare and precious. Their love story was far from over, but this anniversary had marked a milestone, a testament to the enduring power of their bond. As the morning sun painted the sky, Samyam and Razmi woke up to the sound of birds chirping. They stepped out onto the balcony, the fresh morning air invigorating their senses. The lake shimmered like a liquid mirror, reflecting the vibrant colors of the sky. "It's even more beautiful in the morning," Razmi said. Samyam nodded in agreement. "Let's go for a boat ride," he suggested. "Us," Razmi replied with excitement. They rented a small rowboat and paddled out into the middle of the lake. The water was calm, reflecting the mountains like a flawless painting. They spent hours drifting, talking, and simply enjoying each other's company. As they returned to the shore, they decided to take a hike to the nearby hills. The trail was challenging but rewarding, offering breathtaking views of the valley. They reached a small, secluded spot, perfect for a picnic. They spread out a blanket and enjoyed a lunch, surrounded by the beauty of nature.
How wonderful it feels to feel like knowing you're a hidden character in someone's story.
The morning sun was bright, casting long shadows on the calm waters of Fuel Lake. Samyam and Razmi woke up to the gentle chirping of birds, their hearts filled with a sense of peace and excitement to continue. "Another beautiful morning," Razmi murmured, stretching her arms. Samyam smiled warmly. "Yes, just like you," he whispered, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. Razmi smiled. As they prepared for the day ahead, the memories of their time in Pokhara flooded their minds. The markets, the aromatic street food, and the serene moments by the lake all had woven themselves into the fabric of their journey. "I can't believe how much we've seen in just a few days," Razmi said, her eyes gleaming with excitement as they meandered through the market. Samyam, admiring the twinkle in her eyes, said, "And we still have so much more to explore." Their afternoons were spent lounging by the pool of their guest house, soaking in the warmth of the sun and each other's company. They shared dreams and aspirations, their conversations punctuated by laughter and moments of quiet reflection as they marveled at the natural beauty that surrounded them. As the day drew to a close, they would retreat to the balcony of their room, watching the sun painted the sky with its final strokes of gold. They reminisced about their journey together, the chance encounters, the unexpected twists, and the shared experiences that had brought them closer. From their first awkward conversation to the deepening bond that now anchored them, their story felt like a tapestry woven with threads of joy, sorrow, hope, and love. The following morning, they packed their bags with a mix of reluctance and anticipation. Checking out of the guest house, they exchanged wistful glances, silently acknowledging the bittersweet feeling of leaving behind a beautiful place. The drive back to Kathmandu was marked by long stretches of winding roads and scenic views that seemed to blur past them. As they approached the contrast of the beauty of Pokhara was fading away. The honking of horns, the throngs of people, and the frenetic pace of life all served as a stark reminder of the world they were returning to. It's going to be strange being back, Razmi admitted softly, her gaze fixed on the city skyline that loomed ahead. We're used to, but we find our rhythm again. With a smile, Samyam replied.
You and I,
Like two drops of morning dew, crossed paths on life's journey. Side by side, we traveled and eventually fused into each other. In that merging, we transformed into a boundless sea, our individual selves becoming one, flowing together endlessly.
Chapter 5.
A Whisper's Promise. After their return to Kathmandu, their days filled with classes, assignments, and part-time jobs. Yet amidst the busyness of their schedules, they always made time for each other, meeting after college for walks through the park, quiet moments in their favorite cafes, or simply enjoying the comfort of each other's presence. Their bond deepened with each passing day. They shared secrets, dreams, and fears, finding solace and strength in their unwavering support for one another. Whether it was offering encouragement before an exam or celebrating small victories over cups of steaming chai, their love blossomed in the ordinary moments of their everyday lives. One evening, as they were walking hand in hand in the park near their college, Samyam came to a sudden stop. The setting sun cast a warm golden glow on Razmi's face, illuminating her features with a radiant beauty that took his breath away. "You're the most amazing person I've ever met," he said softly, his voice filled with genuine admiration. Razmi's cheeks flushed pink as she met his gaze, her heart skipping a beat at his heartfelt words. "And you're the best thing that's ever happened to me," she replied. In that quiet moment, beneath the fading light of the setting sun, their love felt timeless, a bond forged through shared experiences, mutual respect, and unwavering devotion. Their love story continued to unfold with moments of joy, sorrow, hope, and dreams. They navigated life's challenges together, celebrating milestones, weathering storms, and embracing the simple pleasures that enriched their journey. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and their relationship blossomed with each passing season. They found comfort in the familiarity of each other's presence, creating new traditions and forging deeper connections with family and friends who welcomed them into their lives with open arms. During college breaks, they went on new adventures, exploring different corners of Kathmandu and even other districts that beckoned with their natural beauty and cultural richness. From the majestic peaks of the Himalayas to the valleys with terraced fields, each destination offered them a glimpse into the diverse beauty of their homeland. "I never knew I will be visiting to this much places with you," Razmi remarked one day, her eyes alight with wonder as they stood atop of Sivapuri Hill, overlooking a breathtaking, vast, crowded Kathmandu city. Samyam nodded in agreement. There's still so much left to explore. They treasured these moments of discovery, hiking through lush forests of Shivapuri alive with the songs of exotic birds, visiting ancient temples steeped in history. As their college years drew to a close, they faced the uncertainty of what lay ahead with a mixture of excitement and a feeling of fear. Armed with their dreams and aspirations, they started on new chapters of their lives, Samyam pursuing a career in Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, while Razmi delved into the world legal works. Their paths diverged at times, each pursuing their passions and carving out their own existence in the world. Yet through it all, they remained each other's anchor, offering unwavering support and encouragement as they navigated the ups and downs of their respective journeys. "I couldn't have done it without you," Razmi admitted one evening, her voice tinged with gratitude as they sat together in their usual cafe, surrounded by books and the comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Samyam smiled warmly, reaching out to squeeze her hand softly. "And I couldn't imagine my life without you," he replied. Their love had matured and deepened over the years, evolving into a partnership built on shared values, mutual respect, and a profound understanding of each other's hopes and dreams. Their conversations often turned to the future dreams of traveling the world together, making a difference in their communities, and building a life filled with purpose and meaning. Their dreams were intertwined with a shared commitment to making a positive impact on the world around them. They volunteered with local NGOs, advocating for environmental conservation and promoting access to education for underserved communities. Together, they organized fundraisers, participated in cleanup drives, and mentored aspiring young leaders who shared their passion for creating a more sustainable future. Through their actions, they sought to leave a lasting legacy, a testament to their love for each other and their deep-rooted connection. They believed in the power of collective action, in the ripple effect of small gestures that could bring about meaningful change in their life.
Year passed.
Their love continued to flourish, a testament to the enduring strength of their bond. They celebrated anniversaries with quiet dinners and heartfelt exchanges of love letters, reflecting on the milestones they had achieved and the challenges they had overcome together. Their journey together had been a testament to the transformative power of love, a love that had weathered storms and moments of profound joy, a love that had grown stronger with each passing day. As they looked towards the future, they knew that their story was far from over. They dreamed of growing old together, of watching the sunrise over the mountains they had climbed, and of finding new adventures that awaited them on the horizon. Their love story had unfolded like a harmonious blend of melody and rhythm, each note resonating with the depth of their devotion. They had learned that love was not just a fleeting emotion, but a steadfast commitment to nurturing each other's growth, celebrating their differences, and the moments that defined their journey. Their love had been tested by time and circumstance, strengthened by the challenges they had faced. They had learned that love was not always perfect, but was rooted in the courage to overcome vulnerability and the willingness to grow together, hand in hand, through the seasons of life. And so, their love story continued, a timeless narrative of two souls intertwined, their hearts beating as one against the backdrop of a world filled with endless possibilities.
Each evening's lamp I light flickers dim, in shadows deep, where memories of you swim.
Chapter 6. A Silent Whisper. Samyam woke up to the gentle chirping of birds outside his window, the soft rays of the morning sun filtering through the curtains. Stretching his arms, he reached for his phone on the nightstand. A message from Razmi awaited him. Razmi. Good morning. I was thinking we should go shopping today. I need to buy some stuffs. Samyam, good morning. Sounds like a plan. We will meet on 11 a.m. at KL Tower? Razmi, perfect. See you then. They had been looking forward to this day, a day of leisure from their busy schedules. Razmi and Samyam had always enjoyed these little outings, whether it was exploring new places or simply spending time together. Sanchai za, Samyam said, meeting her in front of KL Tower. Ani TMI, said she with a beautiful smile on her face. At KL Tower, they navigated through aisles filled with clothes, gadgets, and household items, occasionally stopping to check out something that caught their eye. Look at this, Razmi exclaimed, holding up a box with a funny quote. Samyam chuckled. That's so you. Should we get it? Razmi. Definitely. After their visit to KL Tower, Razmi and Samyam found Peppa Pizza, just a short walk away, and enjoyed a delicious meal there. Razmi remembered she needed a few more items, so they headed to the bustling Buddha area for some shopping. Once they had everything they needed, they decided to have dinner at the 13 Steps restaurant near Buddhanath Stupa. Sitting at the restaurant, they ate tasty momos and keema noodles while looking out at the peaceful stupa. The stupa was beautifully lit up, creating a magical atmosphere for their meal. Razmi and Samyam, who have been in love for 2.5 years, spent the evening chatting about their upcoming exams and weekend plans. Their outing to the Buddhanath area was a chance for them to enjoy each other's company and create lasting memories. The serene stupa provided a peaceful backdrop for their dinner date. As they sat at the restaurant, surrounded by the gentle lights, they felt calm and content, savoring the simple joy of being together. Razmi had parked her scooter at KL Tower, and Samyam had parked his there as well. As they reflected on their journey together, they felt grateful for moments like these, where they could escape the hustle and bustle of daily life and just enjoy each other's presence. The familiar sights and sounds of the city faded into the background as they focused on each other, their love glowing brightly in the cozy ambience of the restaurant. In the quiet of the evening, with the stupa standing tall in the distance, Razmi and Samyam found solace in each other's love. Their shared laughter and gentle conversations filled the space between them, reinforcing the deep connection they shared. The beauty of the stupa mirrored the beauty of their relationship, ancient and enduring. As they finished their meal and prepared to leave the restaurant, Razmi and Samyam felt a sense of peace wash over them. The evening had been a reminder of the simple joys of life: good food, good company, and the beauty of an ancient stupa watching over them. Hand in hand, they made their way back to KL Tower parking, their hearts full of love and gratitude for the moments they had shared. "I love days like these," Samyam said, gazing at Razmi with affection. "Me too," Razmi replied softly, her eyes sparkling. "Thanks for today," Razmi said, leaning against Samyam as they walked towards her scooter. "Anytime," Samyam replied, squeezing her hand. Yesto time manage Garna Parksa." Razmi nodded, her smile softening. "Hi Hajar." Before parting ways, Razmi glanced back at Samyam with a playful glint in her eye. "Volume 1 Betchu Hi," she said. That was the last word that he was listening from her, and that will remain in his head forever. Razmi started her scooter. With a gentle wave, Samyam stood there, watching her disappear into the distance, a swell of contentment filling his chest as he thought about how fortunate he was to have Razmi in his life. Back in the comfort of his cozy home, surrounded by familiar sights and sounds, Samyam settled in for the night. An overwhelming sense of gratitude and joy enveloped him as he reflected on the day spent with Razmi. Wanting to express his feelings, he reached for his phone to send her a good night message. However, as minutes turned into hours with no response, a sense of unease crept into his heart. Samyam's attempts to reach Razmi went unanswered. Her phone was unreachable. He tried to call her many. It was almost 11:30 p.m. He thought she must have slept due to the tiredness as they had walked a long distance. That night, he had different thoughts in his mind, and he didn't know when he fell asleep.
Alone I sit and watch the window weep as memories flood my mind, dark and deep. The curtain, dancing in the mournful air, reflects my soul, exposed and bare. Oh, window, curtain, you've been my only friend through lonely nights where sorrow never ends.
The morning sun, usually a comforting presence, felt like a cruel spotlight. The weight of the night's events pressed down on him with an unbearable heaviness. He tried to call Razmi again, a futile hope flickering in his chest. The phone rang unanswered, a cold echo of his loneliness. A sense of dread crept into him, a feeling that something was terribly wrong. With trembling hands, he dialed Seema's number. The phone rang once, twice, before she answered. Her voice, muffled, was barely audible. "Seema, is everything okay? Where's Razmi?" Samyam's voice was a desperate. A long silence followed. Samyam's heart pounded in his ears. Then the words came, slow and heavy. "Samyam, she's gone." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. The ground beneath him vanished. His mind racing, trying to comprehend the impossible. "What do you mean, gone? Where is she? What happened?" His voice was a hoarse whisper. Seema's sobs grew louder. "There was an accident, Samyam. She didn't make it." The words were like icy piercing his heart. He couldn't breathe. The world had turned into a monochrome nightmare.
When?
"Where is she now?" His voice was a mere husk. "They're taking her to Pashupatinath. The rituals." Seema's voice trailed off, unable to continue. The name of the temple echoed in Samyam's mind. Pashupatinath, a place of finality, of separation. It was as if the universe had conspired to inflict the greatest pain imaginable. He disconnected the call, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and grief. He had to see her one last time. With a trembling hand, he grabbed his keys and rushed out of the
house.
The world outside was a blur, a meaningless canvas against the storm raging within him. His bike seemed to move in slow motion as he made his way to Pashupatinath. Samyam's world shattered into a million pieces. The words, "She's dead," echoed in his mind like a relentless drumbeat. His heart pounded in his ears, a deafening rhythm that drowned out the rest of the world. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All he felt was a cold, numb emptiness. The temple, a place of solace and spirituality, was now a macabre stage for his worst nightmare. The air was thick with the scent of incense and the mournful chants of mourners. Samyam pushed through the crowd, his eyes scanning the area for any sign of Razmi. There, on a funeral pyre, he saw her. Or rather, what was left of her. His heart clenched painfully. His Razmi, the vibrant, laughing woman he had spent the other day with, was now a lifeless body, consumed by flames. A wave of anger and despair washed over him. How could this happen? Why her? They had just spent a perfect day yesterday together, filled with laughter and love. And now she was gone forever. As the flames consumed Razmi's body, Samyam collapsed to the ground, his sobs echoing through the temple grounds. The world had lost its color, its sound, its meaning. All that remained was an aching void where his love for Razmi once resided. The once vibrant tapestry of their love story had been torn apart, leaving behind only fragments of memories and sorrow.
Memories like heavy stones pull me beneath the surface. The night, a silent accomplice, amplifies their weight. Still, tiny, distant stars offer a glimmer of hope.
In the days that followed, Samyam found himself mired in a fog of sorrow. Each moment without Razmi felt like a gaping void, her absence echoing in the silence that now enveloped his world. Memories of their laughter, their shared dreams, and the warmth of her presence haunted him incessantly, a bittersweet reminder of what once was. He spent sleepless nights poring over photos of Razmi, her smile frozen in time, a cruel reminder of a happiness now shattered. The unanswered question of why weighed heavily on his heart, a haunting refrain that echoed through the empty spaces of his soul. Samyam found comfort in the whispers of forever that lingered in the memories of Razmi. The fleeting moments they shared, the promises of tomorrow that now lay shattered, all whispered of a love that transcended time and space. As he navigated the storm of emotions that threatened to consume him, Samyam clung to the whispers of forever, finding strength in the love that once bloomed between him and Razmi. In the echoes of the past, Samyam found the courage to face an uncertain future, his heart heavy with loss, but encouraged by the whispers of forever that carried him through the darkest of days. And as he grieved the loss of his beloved Razmi, he held on to the belief that their love would endure, whispered on the winds of eternity.
This night that has just arrived a few moments ago, carrying the darkness of memories, not only from outside to inside the room, but also within my heart. This darkness is very thick, yet the stars in the dark sky are twinkling with dim light before my eyes.
In the quiet of his room, surrounded by mementos of their time together, Samyam grappled with the overwhelming sense of loss that now defined his existence. The memories of Razmi danced before his eyes, each one a reminder of a love that now felt like a distant dream. Why did this happen? Samyam whispered to himself one sleepless night, staring at a photo of Razmi on his phone. We had so many plans. The weight of the unanswered question pressed down on him like a heavy stone, threatening to crush him under its formidable weight. The future, once filled with the promise of shared adventures and endless possibilities, now stretched out before him as a desolate landscape, barren of hope or joy. As the days turned into weeks, Samyam and the fragments of Razmi that remained etched in his heart and mind. Her laughter, her warmth, her spirit, all were woven into the fabric of his being, a tapestry of memories that offered both comfort and sorrow. Through the tears and the heartache, Samyam held on to the belief that love was more than just a fleeting moment. In the whispers of forever, he found the strength to face each day, to honor the love he shared with Razmi, and to carry her light within him in the darkest of nights.
When I try to unravel the knot of memories, my eyes, hands, and heart involuntarily freeze. Memories of barren land, you the endless snow.
Kathmandu, once a bustling city filled with the rhythm of life, had become a suffocating cage for Samyam. The streets where they have walked hand in hand now had been haunting him with memories. He felt like a ghost in his own life, drifting through days with an empty mind and a heart that felt empty and cold. The decision to return to his ancestral village in Kaski was a desperate attempt to escape the haunting memories that clung to him like shadows. The beautiful mountains, the gentle murmur of the river, and the earthy scent of the soil promised a comfort that the city could never provide. The road was same where he had traveled with Razmi while going Pokhara. The familiar landscapes seemed to have changed. Their vibrant colors of nature is muted by the gray filter of his grief. The once comforting journey now felt like a pilgrimage to an unknown destination.
The lights that witnessed her departure are now asleep.
The first few days in Kaski were very difficult for him. The quiet nature of the village, once a source of peace, now seemed to amplify the silence within him. The absence of Razmi was a gaping void, a constant reminder of the life he had lost. He spent countless hours sitting by the river, watching the water flow, an attempt to find answers in its motion. The mountains, once a symbol of strength and resilience, now seemed indifferent to his pain. The world around him carried on, indifferent to the storm raging within him. Slowly, with the passage of time, a strange kind of acceptance began to develop into his heart. The village, with its simple rhythms and genuine warmth, offered him a much-needed healing. The small school and village, where he had been teaching students to make him busy in something, is now giving him a comfort. The small smiles in those kids became his silent support system. One evening, Samyam felt a strange sense of peace wash over him. He sat on the muda of his ancestral home, a diary in his hand. The pages were blank, waiting to be filled with the unspoken words that had been trapped within him. With trembling hands, he began to write. The words flowed freely, a release of the emotions that had been bottled up for so long. He wrote about Razmi, their love story, their dreams, and the shattering reality of her absence. He wrote about the pain, the loneliness, and the fear that consumed him. But he also wrote about the strength he was finding within himself. The pages of the diary filled up with his thoughts, his feelings, and his journey towards healing. It was a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a story of loss and hope, and of pain. The diary became his silent companion, a record of his journey, a testament to the strength he was discovering within himself. It was a place where he could be honest, vulnerable, and raw, without fear of judgment. As the monsoon arrived, bringing with it the rhythm of the rains, Samyam felt a sense of renewal. The rain had revived the earth, reflecting the hope growing in his heart. As he looked at the misty mountains, he felt a calming sense of peace. The journey ahead was uncertain, but Samyam was ready to face it. He carried the weight of his loss, but he also carried the strength of his love for Razmi. In the mountains, he found comfort. In the pages of his diary, he found a voice. In his own strength, he found hope. The story was far from over, but a new chapter was beginning, a chapter filled with the promise of healing, growth, and a renewed sense of purpose.
And that brings us to the conclusion of Whispers of Forever by Sujan Kandel. Thank you for sharing this emotional journey filled with love, heartbreak, and the complexities of the human heart. We hope you found a piece of yourself within these pages and resonated with the characters' struggles and triumphs. Love can be both beautiful and painful, and this story reminds us of the delicate balance between the two. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What moments touched you the most? How did the story resonate with your own experiences? Don't forget to hit the notification bell for updates on our future audiobooks. Until next time, remember that every love story, even one marked by heartbreak, leaves us with whispers of forever in our hearts.